People think life is a movie. People think they could do real things and not pay the real price. But you see, I learned a lesson. God taught me a lesson. And ever since then, my life has never been the same. My name is Christian. And this is my story. People say there is no God. But how could you even believe that, being an intelligent human being? I mean, look around you. So many things have to happen just for you to continue to exist. I mean, we breathe involuntarily. We look at things involuntarily. Did you know that the human eye has to make millions of connections just so that you can see an image right in front of you? It's far past any camera that's come out or any camera that can film anybody. These type of things prove to us that God exists. These type of things show us. If you look at the trees, if you look at nature, if you look at how the earth hangs on nothing, how can you say there is no God? See, I learned the lesson a long time ago that there was a God. And that's why I decided to change my life. Let me tell you another reason why there's a God. Because statistically, I shouldn't even be standing here talking to you right now. See, I'm a 26-year-old Latino male that grew up in Washington Heights, New York. It's a dangerous place. But I'm still here. Most of my friends are either dead or in jail. But somehow I made it out. Let me tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you the short version. I don't want to bore you guys. But the thing is that when I grew up in that neighborhood, I didn't have a lot of role models. I didn't have a lot of people to look up to. I didn't know what to do with myself. So what did I do? I followed the rappers, the music videos, the drug dealers, and all types of things like that. Because that's what I thought was good. So I became a drug dealer, and I started selling drugs. And I started taking drugs from New York City to Buffalo to Long Island and various other places over time. And things got really bad. You know what I mean? And so many times I look back through life and I was like, man, I could have died there. I could have not made it out. There was times where I was robbing stores and stealing and doing all kinds of bad things. And I just couldn't believe that I never got arrested. I never got killed. Nothing bad ever happened to me. But finally though, something bad did happen. And I looked at it like a wake-up call. You know, there's always a wake-up call in life. And, you know, I was doing bad in school. I wasn't doing good in college because I was selling drugs. I was promoting parties. That's all I was really doing with my life. So when I had to come back to New York, I called up some of my friends. And they came up to come get me. But he came with two other guys. Not going to mention their name. But basically what they were doing was they were robbing me while they were helping me move out. They were taking things and robbing me. And at that time, I wasn't about disrespect. So I went over there to the block that I spent the most time of my life growing up in. And I confronted him. He had been on drugs. He was smoking something that I just, you know, it's like garbage dipped in embalmer fluid. A lot of people smoke it. It's a horrible drug. And he was on that. And he came up to me. He was like, I ain't steal nothing from you. And he swung at me. And I was ready to fight this guy to the death. I was thinking about ways of getting away with murder. And that's the type of mentality I was in. I was lost in the world. But then, as I was gonna hit him, I clutched up my fist. I never backed down from a fight. I was ready to hit him, and a wind came from above. I don't know if anybody else heard it, but I heard it that day. And it was like, shoo. And I felt a peace that I had never felt before in my life. And all of a sudden, my fist went from being clenched to being open. And all of a sudden I told them, I know your brother, I know your mother, I know your sister. I can't fight you, I can't kill you. We grew up together. How could this be that we're so low now that we're about to kill each other over Xbox 360s and old Wilt Chamberlain Lakers jerseys and ridiculous things of that nature? So I left the block that day. That's what we used to call it. We used to call it the block. I walked off the block that day and I never looked back. I really felt like God intervened in my life. I didn't know it was God at the time, but I knew that He had intervened. And when I went home, I had no more friends. Nobody to talk to, nobody to call. Because all those people that were there with me when I was partying, all those people that were there with me when I was spending money, they were nowhere to be found. All my friends that I had grown up with, they were gone. And I couldn't understand why. But I went home, and I remember they didn't steal this box. It was a Nike box, and it had a bunch of Bible studies in it. A bunch of Bible studies that this girl had given me in University at Buffalo. And I was sitting in my room that day, or that night actually. It was in the nighttime, and I heard a voice. It said, "Go to the bookshelf in your house." I mean, this bookshelf has been in my house since I was a little kid, but I never stopped to even look at it. And when I went to the bookshelf, a brown book stood out amongst the rest. Guess what book that was? The Bible. So I picked up this Bible and I started reading it like a madman. And I started reading 3 hours at a time. Even my grandmother was like, "Este muchacho está loco, yo no sé lo que le pasa a ese muchacho ahí." Talking Spanish. Translation, this kid is crazy. He's been in that room for 3 hours reading the same book. But I couldn't get enough of it. So I went into the box, the Nike box now, and I started asking God questions. The crazy thing is that I would ask God any question about anything, baptism, salvation, Jesus, who is this, anything. And I would go into that box and I would pick up a Bible study and it'd be the answer to my prayer. So I knew God was doing something. And I would ask him, what do I do next? And I would go into that box and pick up the Bible study and God would answer me through that Bible study. And through people, and through a lot of things that were going on at that time. But it changed the direction of my life. So I finally asked God, you know, what church do you want me to go to? You know, and I called up a friend and she Googled up a church for me. And I found one 10 blocks away from my house. And you know, everything was a big transition for me. It was like a complete 360. And everything just changed from that day on. But you know, I kept going back to my friend's house. I kept going back to smoke. I kept going back to party. I kept going back to girls. I just didn't know how to stop. I didn't understand the gospel, you know. But one day, you know, my friend was murdered, and it was over some bad stuff. And that was really the turning point in my life, because he was like my brother. I loved him like a brother, but now he was gone. And now I knew that it was time for me to get my things straight. So I'm blessed, because I made it out of that life. I'm blessed because I made it out of that drug life. I'm blessed because I made it out of that party scene. I'm blessed because I abused drugs, but I'm still standing here healthy. And for that, I thank God. So there is a God. And the next time you forget that, take a look in the mirror.